secrets lie, the truth awaits. Though time runs by, an answer cries in the night, seeking justice, shining bright. Stories and old and whispers fade, a quest for truth that must be made through endless trails and winding roads. Justice should never go cold. Justice should never go cold. Through the years this fire we hold, in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Justice should never go cold. We hold in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Oh. Love in every heart and never cold. It through the years it's found. Oh. In every heart and every soul. Justice should never cut off mysteries haunt the past, but truth will rise and light will last through dedication. Bold and strong, we seek the answers all along. Justice should never go cold. Through the years this fire we hold, in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Justice should never go cold. We hold in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Cold. We hold in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Cold. We hold in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Cold.
Hello, everyone. How you all doing tonight? This isn't going to be a very long live. It's kind of an introduction to the case I'm going to be going over. Probably do about 6 episodes of it. Hello, Dutchie. Hello, Chatty. Hello, CRG. I think that's, yep. But tonight's case is going to be over the Redhead murders. The Redhead murders was a series of unsolved homicides of redhead females in the United States between October 1978 and 1992, believed to have been committed by an unidentified male serial killer. The murders believed to be related have occurred in states including Tennessee. Just a second. Okay, sorry about that. But the murders are believed to be related and occurred in states including Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. Just a second, y'all. The victims, many which are remain unidentified for years, were usually women with reddish hair whose bodies was abandoned along major highways in the United States. Officials believe the women were likely hitchhiking or may have engaged in prostitution. While looking up this case, I ran into a podcast, and it's By Foul Play. I want to share some of that with you all because they did extreme research on these cases. One of these cases was actually in my own hometown, so it kind of hits home. And I imagine for most of you all, the states you live in, this could very well apply to your states as well. Give me just a second and I'll share my screen. And like I said, this podcast is By Foul Play. They went through this extensively. Some of the people was able to be identified during this process.
Life moves fast. Don't waste a second on returns. At Return.com, we manage returns at over 130 retailers, including Target, Nordstrom, and REI. Just sync your email, and we'll track deadlines, generate labels, and keep you updated every step of the way. Whether it's the wrong size or simply a change of heart, we'll make returns the easiest part of your day. Download Return.com from the Apple App Store today.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes
It does have commercials, y'all. I apologize.
disinfecting against viruses, you know.
Marion, Arkansas.
Okay.
Because the victim's family will not stop fighting. After 2 years, I have discovered many times cold cases aren't forgotten about because the victim's family will not stop fighting for justice. But what about those victims who have no family to fight? The women you will hear about in this series are such people. I have always worked cases and helped speak for victims along with their family to ensure they are not forgotten about. But now I stand alone, speaking out for victims I do not know, and whose names I cannot share because I don't want them to be forgotten about. Marion, Arkansas. A Crittenden County Sheriff's investigator said Tuesday that officials have identified a woman whose body was found.
Yeah, I'll drop it. Sorry about that.
Along Interstate 40 in 1984. Investigator Charles Walker said the death of Lisa Ann Nichols, 28, of West Virginia, has been linked to a series of so-called redhead murders. Police have said 8 slayings in 5 states, including Tennessee, may have been committed by the same person. Walker said police have been unsuccessful in locating Miss Nichols' family. This article is from an old newspaper that was published on June 27, 1985. You are probably wondering why you have never heard of this unsolved serial killer case. I will touch on that a little later. For the past several months, I have been investigating these cases. Unfortunately, so far, I have no on-record cooperation from detectives and federal agencies that I have contacted about this cold and very forgotten series of cases. So, I will start this entire series by reading that short article from an old newspaper, because honestly, that is where I started. Join me on this journey as I investigate and report on this cold series of murders that no one is talking about. Sunday, September 16th, 1984. West Memphis, Arkansas. The forecast was predicted to be dry and hot, somewhere in the high 70s. However, the temperature stayed cooler as a hitchhiker started down the on-ramp to Interstate 40, about 20 miles west of West Memphis. Not far from the ramp, the man noticed something that looked out of place. There, among the trash, were the remains of a woman wearing only a knit skirt. The following is an article from the Tennessean newspaper that was published on June 26th, 1985.
Okay, and I want you to pay close attention to how TBI referred to these ladies.
The body of a woman, Metro Police say, has, quote, the second longest prostitute record in Nashville, end quote, has been identified as one of the 8 redhead murder victims, officials said. The semi-nude and strangled body found last September 16th on Interstate 40 entrance ramp near Cheverville, Arkansas, was identified as Lisa Ann Jarvis, also known as Lisa Ann Nichols, and Lisa Ann Fuller, police said yesterday. She has the second largest prostitute record in Nashville and Davidson County, said Sergeant Raymond Buchanan, a Metro Vice squad officer. Her rap sheet stretches from the ceiling to the floor 3 times, Buchanan said. Jarvis, whose nickname was Baby Doll, had been arrested on charges of prostitution, shoplifting, larceny, robbery, and drugs. She had a drug habit worse than my car has a gasoline habit, he said. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation had included Jarvis's body on a list of those under investigation as possibly part of serial killings. Authorities are not sure one person is responsible for the killings or how many victims there might be. Having what background we have at this point, she seems to be consistent with what we thought in the beginning, a transient type person, said Steve Watson, deputy director of the TBI. Jarvis's identification was made Sunday by Walker after he followed a lead to Fort Lauderdale, Florida last week. There he said he interviewed an admitted pimp and prostitute who said they had lived with Jarvis in West Memphis for a short time, knowing her as Lisa Ann Nichols. The pimp, who was in a Florida jail, told Walker he last saw Jarvis getting into a tractor trailer on September 12, 1984, at a truck stop outside Cheverville, said Walker. Authorities believe she was killed within 24 hours of when she was last seen working the truck stop. Lisa is the only known victim of the redhead murders who has been identified. You heard that right. Out of at least 7.
Now, that was at this point. Since then, Epsie Pilgrim, I know, has been identified. The lady that was murdered in my hometown for years. She went as Jane Doe, and her tombstone still to this day says unknown. And I'll show that to y'all here in a minute.
Women. She is the only person whose identity was discovered after 34 years. When it comes to murder cases, detectives typically look at the people close to the victim, because more times than not, the person responsible was someone they knew. So, when you have someone whose identity is unknown, as you can imagine, it makes the case that much more difficult. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, TBI for short, is still holding the victims that were found in Tennessee in their files. I tried twice to reach out to the TBI, explaining that I wanted to help bring this series of unsolved murder victims to the light. There have been no leads for decades in the cases, and I would like to at least try to help identify the names of the Jane Does. The first call went nowhere. In fact, the person on the other line was a little hostile. When I reached out to the media spokesperson for the TBI for help, I received an email explaining that the cases are still active murder cases, and if they decide they would like to work with me or answer my questions, they would contact me. No further communication has been successful. I haven't given up hope that the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation will reach out. I pray they realize the help that I can provide on a case that hasn't had a lead in decades.
Now, knowing that, how does that make you all feel about TBI? A long time ago, I said that I like to have faith in the police department. But the redhead murders made me look at it a different way. Well, for one thing, if you notice, the article says she had a rap sheet a mile long, a prostitution rap sheet a mile long, or something like that. Is that really what they needed to start with? I mean, yes, she may have been a prostitute, may not have been for all we know, but she's still a human. She's still somebody.
More than just help with the case, I truly would like to help identify these women. For 30 years, all but Lisa have remained nameless. I think it's time to change this. The victims that are all deemed a part of the series Redhead Murders all share specific characteristics. All victims are female. They have reddish-looking hair at the time of the murder, and they are found off certain
I agree, Flies.
interstates across a handful of states in the United States, and are considered transient people. A transient person is someone who moves around a lot. They do not have a lot or any contact with their family. The likelihood these women were homeless is also very high, based on what their bodies tell us at the time they were found. Normally now is when I would talk about the life of the murder victim, telling you what they were passionate about, so you can realize they are a normal person, like you and I. Lisa's name may be known now, but much about her life we know nothing about.
Me too, CRG.
We do know is Lisa hitchhiked a lot and would exchange sex for money. She was poor, homeless, and didn't have family that could help her situation, and she didn't have friends. Let's pause for a moment, because once upon a time, during my senior year in high school, I was homeless. Our home had been foreclosed, and through a series of misfortunate events, I then became homeless. I had family and friends that I could have asked for help, but I was shy at the time and I felt I would burden others. Eventually, I was able to outgrow that situation that I was in. I went to college, received a degree, and became a stand-up comedian for 8 years to pay for those two words that everyone hates: student loans. I tell you that to say this: I came out of my situation with time.
Yes, that was Epsy Pilgrim. I think she was the last one to be identified. That was the one that was identified from my hometown that was found. In that case, my mom, I was little, but I remember my mom was actually one of the first people to take up donations so that this lady could have a funeral.
But Lisa and the other victims you will hear about soon was not afforded the same chance when someone decided to end their lives. Lisa may have sold sex for money at a time when she felt she had to, but that isn't who Lisa was. I once was homeless, and if I had been killed at that time, I am sure the local paper would have reported on another homeless person that died.
And he's probably right. It's sad that your station in life determines really how much of an investigation you get if something should ever happen to you.
For some reason, our society has a habit of doing this to certain people in specific situations. Whether it's a homeless person, a prostitute, or someone doing drugs, we all have witnessed the lesser status of humanity given to them. Maybe you haven't noticed it because you cannot relate, but trust me, it is a problem. I was homeless, but it doesn't mean I had less right to life than anyone else. Lisa may have been homeless and sold sex for money, but she wasn't less of a person for it. Now let's go back to the article that you heard earlier. The officer was quoted as saying this about Lisa: "She has the second largest prostitute record in Nashville in Davidson County."
Okay. Give me your feedback. Do you all think that was appropriate for an officer of the law to say about an individual that had lost their life? Was that an appropriate? Because keep in mind, yeah, it is. It's so sad. Not only that, but later on, you will hear these ladies referred to as the throwaway ladies.
And Sergeant Raymore Buchanan, a Metro Vice Squad officer, said, "Her rap sheet stretches from the ceiling to the floor 3 times." Buchanan, said Jarvis, whose nickname was Baby Doll, had been arrested on charges of prostitution, shoplifting, larceny, robbery, and drugs. He said, "She had a drug habit worse than my car has a gasoline habit."
It sounds to me like this officer sure did spend a whole lot of time disparaging this young woman. I don't care what a rap sheet was. I don't care what she did for a living. Her case needed as much attention as anybody else's. I don't care if it's a prostitute on the street or a mayor. They should get the same treatment when it comes to investigating their case. I believe that all cases was handled with the same dignity and respect that they would give, say, a mayor or a judge. We wouldn't have so many cold cases.
Now I have to ask, what use is it to tell people she had the second largest prostitution record in Nashville, or that she had a drug habit, and I quote, "worse than my car has a gasoline habit"? We get it. Lisa sold sex for money, and she took drugs. I'm a firm believer that just because you are homeless, sell sex for money, or addicted to drugs doesn't mean you deserve to die. One may be able to argue that I am overreacting to the language that was shared when Lisa's identity was discovered and when it was released to the public back when the article was written. When I am examining a cold case, I also look at what the causes could have been that could create an atmosphere to cause a case to go unsolved. I don't think it was intentional, but in my opinion, the detective's language portrayed her as someone who we shouldn't have been surprised that she met such a horrible fate. In a way, I think the tone and language allowed communities to believe this wouldn't happen to them, and that maybe this killer was doing them a favor by taking her off the streets.
It's Ram Truck Month.
What do you all think? I think he's spot on right there, in my opinion. Yeah, I get irritated too. I mean, like I said, justice should never go cold, you all. It shouldn't.
Hurry into your local Ram dealer for great deals on the trucks built to help you drive your own story, like Ram 1500.
Think your email, and we'll track deadlines.
Theorized that in 1984, the detectives likely knew the outdoor exposure of Lisa's remains made the likelihood of having the right mix of DNA for testing impossible. If DNA was taken, preserved, or even if her knit shirt was saved, it's possible that new DNA testing could provide answers. We all experience our own levels of low in our lives. Some experience much lower lows than others. I would like to hear from you if you have ever reached a low dealing with being homeless, addicted to drugs, or resorting to selling sex for money.
Okay. The case we're going to focus on tonight is, let me see here, this one.
To this podcast, then you know and love the thrill and be matched with a therapist and be
side and look through the window to watch it.
Union 76 truck stop. You're the man that saw her before she was murdered?
Yes, I was the one who seen her in the restaurant there at the truck stop. And then I seen her get into the cab over truck as it was leaving the parking lot.
This is Bruce Jenkins. In April of 1985, Bruce was working as a shift manager at Union 76 truck stop in Kentucky. The redheaded woman we are discussing is known as the Knox County, Kentucky, Jane Doe, and he was the last person who saw her alive. When you saw her, and I know this was a long time ago, So I know that she's working on memory. But when you saw her, did you notice that she looked scared, or what was your impression?
But to be honest, I was managing the truck stop at the time, and the waitresses come over and got me and said, "We got a lot lizard over. That's more or less a prostitute." So I went, I asked them, I said, "What is she wearing?" and everything else, and they told me. So I went out back and stood outside and looked through the window to watch her. She was sitting at a table by herself. He was talking to other drivers. One guy got up, walked over, and laid some money on the table. And then, roughly about 5 minutes went by. She got up, grabbed the money, and went towards the front. And I thought, okay, she's fixing to make her move, and I'll catch her over at the side when she comes out the side door. So when I went around to the side waiting on her, she'd went out the front, and I noticed the back end of a cab over truck sitting there facing the road. I don't remember the license plate because on the cab overs, they always had the plates on the front. It was a maroonish looking color that I could tell. I couldn't tell you what make it was or anything, but she went over. She had a small peeling bag. I think she had some clothes in it. She opened the door. She threw that in. She climbed up in the truck, shut the door, and then they left the lot and turned left, heading towards Barber Beach. That was the last time I seen it.
The vehicle that you're describing, is that a truck?
Yes, back then they had what was called, it was a trailer length clearance. Okay, you can only be so long out there on the road. That's why they just come out with a 48-foot trailer, and to be under that limit of lengthwise. You know, that's why they had the cab overs. And it was a couple of years later they finally done away with those and went to the conventionals. That's the long nose. Okay.
Did you guys get any type of description from the man that was giving her the money?
He was nondescript. Okay, the best I can remember, I think he had like black hair. He had a denim jacket, blue jeans. I couldn't tell, if it was boots or anything. Someone wanted to tell me that, yeah, it was, the shirt was brownish in color. That was about all I can remember him.
How often did you guys come into contact with prostitutes?
Do I have it too fast? Let me know in chat. I'm trying to make this part of it as quickly as possible, but it's important to hear it.
About every night.
So it was a common occurrence.
Yeah, it'd either be they come into the restaurant and the waitresses knew what they were, and I'd have to go over and tell them, hey, we don't care if you're sitting here eating. Just don't be trying to hassle the drivers. Some of them are just wanting to come in here and eat.
A lot of these murders, CRG, the bodies were found along major roadways. I will be showing here in just a little bit the distance from where the truck stop was that the Knox County Jane Doe was found, or this guy said that he saw her at, to where she was found. And when you see the type of road that it is, you're going to think, how in the world did nobody see her? How did they not see this? Which makes me think that if it is a truck driver, then she was murdered in the truck. But now the one in Knox County was found in a refrigerator. And that wouldn't be common back in the 80s to saw an old refrigerator thrown over the mountain.
People didn't leave. And others, I've had to go out on the lot and get it. So you've got a 300-pound truck driver standing there at 2 o'clock in the morning, arguing beach and telling me to either get her or he's going to kill her. And I got to go out there and find her and get her and take her across the road, set her at a pile and say, you want to her all you want, just not over there because you're aggravating the driver.
How did you find out that she was found in the fridge? Like, how did that whole thing come about?
When the state trooper approached me in the parking lot, 2 nights late, he was dressed in plain clothes, and he come walking up. He asked me, he said, do you remember
Is that better?
a redheaded girl that was here 2 nights ago? And I said, yeah. And about that time, he pulled his badge out and identified himself as a state police officer. What his name was, I couldn't tell you, but he started pulling that picture. And he said, is this the girl? And she was laying on a table. She's already dead. And I said, yeah, that's her. That's who I seen getting in the truck. And they took all my information in.
How shocked were you that happened? Was it common for prostitutes to be hurt at the truck stop later on? Was that something that you heard about?
No, I left like a year or so after that. Yeah, I went to Georgia and went to work down there. Anything happened after I left, I couldn't answer that for you honestly. But I know that time I was there, the only time that any prostitutes got hurt was whenever they would fight each other at the front parking lots.
That your interaction with the police officer, that was the only interaction you had. Is that correct?
Yes.
How far away would you say Barberville is from that truck stop?
Between 11 and 15 miles.
I would say it isn't really that much. I'd say it's about 9 or 10.
Where she was found from the truck stop was like 8 miles.
So it was pretty quick to get to.
Yeah, it was halfway.
It was on 25E in between Corbin and Barberville.
Between Oregon and Barberville was where she was found at. One was a pull off that the state makes off the roadways where, let's say that they're going to be.
Canary, do you know where Gillum Hill is?
Doing work in that area, then they got a place where they can pull their equipment off. They're not getting into the woods or anything. They're just pulling off a little bit. And yeah, that's notorious around here. You know, people taking refrigerator, couches and stuff and just finding a place like that to man.
Do you think that he just happened to find that fridge down there, or do you think that he had it with him?
No, from my understanding, it was a fairly large refrigerator, and I'd say that somebody had thrown it out, and he just happened to find it.
Yeah, I think that I share that theory as well. If you would have cut her off in the beginning, I know that you thought that she was going to go out the side door and she ended up going out the front. What was your normal reaction? Would you stop them? Would you tell them to leave or what?
It's close to I-75, but in all actuality, it's on 25E going towards Tennessee. Like I said, it's in between Corbin and Barberville, the gray area. There is a little area there before you get to the electric company, which is RECC, and there's a hill that locals call Gillum Hill, and that is where her body was found.
I would have talked to her, hey, is this what you're doing? I would have asked her several questions as to what she was doing there at the truck stop, talking to drivers. And yeah, it was common to find people there that was hitchhiking. That's what she did. Yeah, if I'd have stopped her and if that's what she'd told me that she was trying to find her ride out of there, I wouldn't have done nothing else. But if she told me that it was working, then I would have asked her, hey, you could just go across the street.
So maybe that interaction could have saved her life.
Yeah, very
if she would have went out the side door.
Yes.
It was around 2 a.m. when Bruce says he saw the redheaded woman getting into this man's truck. 6 hours later, on a rarely used dead-end dirt road between Kentucky 233 and the J&G Market on US 25 East, two men were scavenging around a dumping ground that was used to dispose of garbage. This spot was also known as a spot for high school students to party because it was a bit secluded, but easy to access. The men came across a refrigerator. It was an older model, white.
In all reality, the reason that a lot of teens went there wasn't just the party. Old wise tales said that hill was haunted. So, I mean, that's the stories that you'll get from the locals.
Admiral. With the goal in mind to salvage the fridge for parts, the men opened the door, and inside were the remains of a woman lying in the fetal position. She was nude, wearing a pair of white tube socks and two cheaper gold necklaces, one with a puffed gold heart and the other with a gold eagle. Officers immediately taped off the dirt road, while detectives gathered clues and took plaster casts of tire tracks. A pair of women dress boots with 3-inch heels were found about 2 miles from the scene, but it is not known if those boots belonged to this woman. There were no indications that the woman was local. Upon a later investigation, a lead was discovered that someone was hitchhiking and
No, I'm talking about 25E in between Corbin and Barberville. I'll show it on the map here in just a second.
Asked for a call over the CB for a ride to North Carolina. Detectives believed that this woman may have been from out of state. The Knox County Deputy Coroner, Jerry Garland, stated that she was between 25 and 32 years old. He also mentioned that she had not been struck in the head and she had not been dead for more than 7 hours when she was discovered. A later examination showed that there was no bruising or gunshot wounds. The refrigerator had new scratch marks and a clump of dirt lodged under the handle. It was believed the dirt by the handle would have been washed away by the previous day's rain. The woman is described as 5 foot 5 inches, with reddish-brown, shoulder-length hair, hazel eyes, and freckles. She had a mole on the right side of her neck, and she also had a birthmark, a little larger than a silver dollar, on the lower calf about 3 inches above the ankle. She also showed signs of stretch marks, indicating that she had at least one child. Local sources have said the fridge had been lying upright with the door open until the morning before Bruce saw the red-headed woman at the truck stop. It is believed that the refrigerator was there prior to the murder and was not dumped with the lady inside at the scene. The Jane Doe was given a proper burial by the residents of Barberville, Kentucky. One woman at the funeral held.
That's that area. You said that my dad lived in Barberville. I took 25E from Tennessee, from North Carolina. I didn't grow up there though. It is believed that this woman was hitchhiking to get back home because she had a court date, and they think that she was actually headed to North Carolina.
In the town stated, quote, "Someone out there knows this woman. That woman has a family. Hopefully, she will be identified soon." For more than 32 years, the Knox County Jane Doe remained nameless. But all of that could be about to change.
Hi, how are you guys? We're good. We're so glad to talk to you, to meet you finally.
Yeah.
I think you're really brave. I think I'm strong in a sense, but I think I've always just been that way. I was built. Where were you born?
Okay, I'm going to pause this right here because that goes into who they think is her daughter, who they got up with later on in life. But give me just a second here. Just a second. Okay. Go back to here. Okay. So we did a FOIA request on this, and it says, on April the 1st, 1985, at approximately 1:10 p.m., the Kentucky State Police Identification Unit was notified by Detective Melvin Anderson that a body of an unidentified deceased female was en route to the University of Kentucky Medical Center. He requested that the body be processed for latent prints. He also requested that inked fingerprint impressions be obtained for identification purposes. The body arrived at the University of Kentucky Medical Center at approximately 5:40 p.m. The body was then processed for latent prints and comparison value, with none being developed. Ink fingerprints impressions were obtained from the deceased and were searched in the Kentucky State Police Identification Unit, criminal and applicant files with negative results. Now, this is where I have a problem, because they later identify her as Epsie Pilgrim. Well, she had a arrest record, and right here it says that it was negative. They got negative results. A photocopy of the inked fingerprints impressions of the deceased were sent to all state identification bureaus and the FBI. All answers were returned with negative results. The identification unit received on May the 3rd, 1985 at 10:10 a.m. from Barbara Wheeler 12 latent lifts, 2 cards bearing the ink fingerprint impressions of a Bobby Money, and 1 card bearing the ink fingerprint impression of a Paul Taylor. The above items were submitted by Detective Marvin Anderson. The examination of the latent lift revealed 3 latent prints of comparison value. A comparison of the latent prints to the ink fingerprint impressions of Paul Taylor and Bobby Money for elimination purposes revealed that one latent print is the left middle finger of Paul Taylor. 2 latent prints were unidentified. Photographs of the 2 latent prints of value were made for the identification unit records. The 2, okay, that's the same one. Let me see here. It says the lists were examined and 3 latent fingerprints of value are present on 3 of the lists. Information contained in the reference letter and a notation of the left indicated that one of the latent fingerprints has been identified by your agency as an elimination fingerprint. So this might be prints that they found on her. A review of the specimen from which the 2 latent prints were taken may reveal the most likely finger positions, such as the right thumb, left index, for each latent fingerprint, with the information along with as much descriptive data such as sex, race, age. Okay, let me see here. And it says on Friday, March the 21st, 1986 at 1340 hours, I accepted a collect phone call at post. This was concerning the flyer sent out on the redheaded female who was found murdered in Tennessee. This man said his name was Tom, would not give any other information. He said his wife was with him and that this flyer was his wife's sister. So she thought, He said her name, the victim, was Jerry Livingston from Terre. She was 21 years old and had been missing for about 4 to 5 years. He said they did not know what had happened to her. He also said we could contact the Terre Haute, Indiana police to get the information on her. Well, that didn't turn out to be her. Now this is the Knox County Jane Doe, later identified as Epsie Pilgrim. And give me just a second. Something I want to share with you all. Let me see here. Okay. A while back, I actually did a video going to her grave. We will watch that. Let's see here. We will if I can get to it. Stay home. Okay. I think I still have it up. Give me just a second, you all. I do apologize. But I remember at that time when this happened, a lot of men was taking their wives to work because nobody knew who this was. And it really, really scared people. Okay. I'm going to let me know if you can see my screen, y'all. Oh, I get chills when you said that. Okay. And also let me know if you can hear it. Did take up money so she could have a funeral. They had her funeral at this funeral home alongside this road and buried her up behind it, which is where we're headed now. Did you know this was here, Hope? I'm talking to my daughter. I think it's right up through here. Yep. Now, the road that they found her on was just like this, if right beside a 4-lane. You know that you can hear me because, like I said, we live naturally back in no man's land, so signal is horrible. It may be buffering, but bear with me. This is the case of the redhead murders. Okay. Let me get us on up there. Okay. Now, keep in mind, when she was buried, the town, like I said, my mom was one of the first ones to take up money. And let me turn this down just a little bit. My mom was one of the first ones to take up money. The county came together and had her a funeral, got her a headstone and a burial plot. So she, till this day, is still buried. Same place that she was buried back then, and her name has still yet to be put on her tombstone. It still says unknown. No, that's little squirrels. Okay. Ever seen firsthand? Hey, and this is why. Because when she was buried, nobody knew who she was. And they found her on April the 1st, 1985. And her grave is marked unknown. If you all can hear me, just let me know in the chat. But like till this day, that is how down here is not good at all. That is how her grave looks. It sits back by itself, kind of, and it still says unknown. It don't have like the day somebody was born, like most of them have. It just has the day that she died, and to me, that has always been sad because everybody deserves their name on their tombstone. Okay. Michelle and I have got the FOIAs on this. There is some inconsistencies with the autopsy with what her picture looked like. Just a second, I'll show her picture. Give me just a minute. Because in the autopsy, while I'm looking for this, in the autopsy, it says that her hair was like 16 inches long. This is the sketch that they did of her, which in my opinion is not accurate whatsoever. I mean, if that's 16 inches long, then so is mine, I guess. But here we go. Well, mine is probably longer than 16 inches, but anyway. Here, let me see here. Let me see if I can share this. Window. Okay. This was one of the sketches that they did of her. Of course, they put the two necklaces. This was a sketch they did of her. Both of them has her hair like a bob. To me, that's not 16 inches long. This right here is another one of the Jane Does. And this was one of the best ones that I could get of all of them. And if you'll notice, down here in this corner is the sketch they did of her also. Now, they did something in this case that they normally do not do. And that was they released an actual picture of her. I'm not going to do that. But if you look online, you can actually find her deceased photo trying to get her identified. And like years later, after they released that there was two necklaces found, a lady came forward and said that they recognized the necklaces and that they believed it was her mom, and that they said they wanted to do DNA to see if it is. It came back as being her mom, which, Ebsy Pilgrim. And her reasoning was she wanted her mom to have a name on her grave. And I completely understand that. Like I said, till this day, the grave still says unknown. But when me and Michelle Michelle requested them. She's the queen of FOIAs. But when we got the FOIA request back, there's a lot in those. That's the reason I want to do hers separate and do hers first. There's a lot in those FOIA requests, which may also be a whole different spin as to who this was, who actually killed her. Was that who we found? Because I don't know. If I'm being honest, I don't really think they got it right, because just the story behind it, because every interview they did, they actually documented it in North Carolina, but they actually documented it, and there was a man that lived behind her that had actually told people that he did it, that he murdered her and did it behind his house. So I don't know. Just a second. Let me see here. Now we're going to get in the Google car. So bear with me. Okay. I'm going to share my screen again. Everybody put your seatbelts on. I'm not a very good driver in the Google car. Let me see here. Entire screen. Okay. Let me know. Put a 1 in chat when you see my screen. Okay. Right here is where the truck stop was that the man said that he saw Epsy. Okay. And right. Let me see here. Okay, 25. I'm just curious to see how far it actually is. And I know we're going by the bird crowing way the bird crows, but let me see. I guess it is Gambling Gap Parkway. Okay. She was found. So yeah, it was about. She was found in this area right here. Okay. And to be able to show you what it looks like in that area. Let me see here. Let me see. And it looks like this till this very day. The people had actually went down this back road. If you go down right here, there's another road that goes off the side, which is another reason I think it was a truck driver. Getting a truck off this road right here would have, well, it would have been a little bit difficult if it had a trailer on it. But she was found right up here. She was found right over in this hill. So right off the main road. And the road looked like this back then too. Right in this wooded area right here is where she was found. So on April the 1st, a man and his son was over in this covered area. I imagine they was probably on the other side of it though, which is right here. Because you can see this is more secluded. But there used to be a junkyard or just junk piles here. And they ran into her body in a refrigerator. And for years, she didn't have a name. And to this day, nobody knows who killed her. Now, if this was one case, it would be horrible. But this is one of 8. Potentially 8 anyways. And there's never been no answers. Nobody's talked about it much. There is a podcast. which I just was playing, which is foul play. A few YouTubers have done some short videos on these, but the more you dig into these, the more you wonder, is this person still out there? Because keep in mind, whoever done this, they didn't get caught. Now, later on in this series, we're going to run into a man that tried to assault and murder a lady in Tennessee. She gets away, but that case is nothing like this one. I don't think they're related. So, what do you all think? Was you surprised to hear how Tennessee treated these victims? Because there was actually 2 of these people from Tennessee. It was from, just a second. The murders took place from October of 1978 till 1992. There was a Lisa. This is the ones that's been identified as of today. Lisa Nichols, Tina Farmer, Tracy Walker, Michelle Inman, Epsie Pilgrim, Patricia Ann Blevins, Wetzel County Jane Doe, Elizabeth Lomet. There's a whole list of ones that could be. Epsie Pilgrim, on April the 1st, 1985, the body of a woman was found in a large white aluminum refrigerator in Gray, Knox County, Kentucky, alongside Route 25. Her death was by suffocation. The victim had been dead for a few days and was nude except for 2 distinct necklace pendants, one of a heart and the other of a gold-colored eagle, and 2 pairs of socks, one white and the other white with green and yellow stripes. There were reports that the victim may have been soliciting a ride to North Carolina over a CB radio. 500 people attended the Jane Doe victim's funeral, which was televised. The case was a local sensation in Gray, as the town was a quiet and sleepy place where little out of the ordinary usually happens. The refrigerator had a decal of the words Superwoman on the front. Distinguishing features of the body included a number of moles on the right side of her neck, near one ankle and below each breast, a yellow stained upper incision, and a scar and other marks on her abdomen, indicating that she had borne a child. Her eyes were light brown and her hair was red and nearly a foot long, which fit the pattern of the redhead murders. After the autopsy, the victim was determined to be between 24 and 35 and approximately 4 feet 9 to 4 feet 11 inches tall. It is also possible that she owned the pair of boots found near the refrigerator. Several missing persons have been eliminated as possible matches for the victim. After the case was publicized in January of 2013, police received some tips, but it is unknown if they became solid leads. On October the 1st, 2018, the Knox County Sheriff's Office announced this woman had been positively identified as Epsie Regina Pilgrim of Western North Carolina. A DNA match was made between her and her grown daughter, who said her mother disappeared when the girl was 6 weeks old. Pilgrim also had 4 other children. Yeah, she was tiny. Let's see here. I'm wondering if it's more than one. Oh yeah. I definitely. I guarantee there is. And as far as victims, I mean, that link to this, there's 8. Epsie isn't the only one. The next live that I do on this, it will continue with Epsie because I think me and Michelle's going to go over the autopsy and the FOIA papers because there's a lot of them. And some of them, like I said, is statements of people confessing that they gave her drugs and knocked her out and thought he'd have his way, and she never woke up, so he buried her in a burn pile behind his house. It makes me wonder. But regardless, there is a lady buried in my hometown that her grave don't have a name on it. And put a 1 in chat. Have you heard of the redhead murders? And maybe it wasn't the redhead murders that you heard it by. Maybe some of them's called the Bible Belt Strangler. But have you all ever heard of these cases? We're always talking about wanting justice, and just think, some of these cold cases, people have waited forever to get answers. And this isn't just one case, you all. This is 8. I mean, a serial killer that's not been caught. Now, that's why I'm so interested in learning about it. Thank you, Chatty. Never heard of them. And like I said earlier, it's not just Kentucky. These victims, they were found in states that include Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. There's also some that they think is North Carolina also, and South Carolina, but they haven't been positively linked to the redhead as one of the victims of the redhead murder. I'm from the southern Ohio, now live in northeastern Kentucky, and I never heard of them. Now, like I said, I was young when this happened, but my mom, my dad drove her to work every day. It wasn't just him. Everybody in the town did that. I mean, just a second. Let me see if I can find the news clip from here. Not that one. Nope, not that one. Nope. There's one I'm looking for where it was just the news clip. a second. Okay. Here we go.
Side of a Kentucky road back in 1985. But soon that could.
Okay. Put a 1 in chat if you can hear it.
Name. It's the fate that came of a young woman found dead on the side of a Kentucky road back in 1985. But soon that could all change. A woman who thinks Jane Doe is her mother is sharing her story, hoping it'll give identity to the woman left dead inside of a discarded fridge.
WBIR reporter Grant Robinson spoke to her tonight and learned more about their possible connection.
Elizabeth Pilgrim grew up without her mother. She went missing from her western North Carolina home when Pilgrim was less than a year old. Around the same time, there was a young redheaded
Oh,
woman
I'm so
found in
sorry.
the fridge tossed in the woods of Knox County, Kentucky. The autopsy suggested that she was strangled.
I think it's her. The necklaces, my brother recognized them. The birthmark, the stain, the tooth, the scar. Like it just fits into place.
Last October, Pilgrim gave a DNA sample to Kentucky State Police. They said it would take a few months to run the test, but it's going slower than she had hoped.
Crushing, I guess you could say. 34 years is a long time. Not knowing is like the worst part. And then you got to keep being put on hold and put on hold. It's heartbreaking a little bit.
Many believe the person who killed the Jane Doe also killed 6 other red-headed women. All but one of those are also unidentified. He's called the Bible Belt Strangler, and he's never been caught. That's why Pilgrim says that confirmation that this is her mother isn't the end of the story.
Knowing that it's her is a major part, but I don't think that's going to be fully all my closure.
Some people who independently investigate the Bible Belt Strangler believe he was a truck driver based out of Knoxville. Pilgrim thinks he could still be out there and hopes her story rekindles a clue that could crack the case. In Knox County, Kentucky, Grant Robinson, Fox 43 News.
Okay, that was that. Here we go.
I don't know of another single case that's happened in this county where there was unknown and never identified. So it means a lot to us.
Buried without a name. It was the fate of a young woman found dead on the side of a Kentucky road. 32 years later, it is a mystery that isn't forgotten by that town.
Authorities discovered her body inside a fridge with no clue about who she was. In tonight's Appalachian Unsolved, Leslie Ackerson takes us to Knox County, Kentucky.
On this busy road, you might not look twice.
I probably passed this site 3 times, 4 times a week.
But James Hall does.
Since 1985, every time I come through here, I always have a habit of looking, and I always think about that's where they found the redhead in the refrigerator.
The weeds have taken over, but the memory of a murder in the woods is still there.
Right here, right past this log, is where the refrigerator sat.
April 1st, 1985, 2 people found the body of a young woman inside a discarded fridge on Highway 25 East in Kentucky. A vivid crime scene for Hall, who was studying to be a coroner.
I was young then. I was 21 years old. I hadn't been around any murder cases at that time.
An autopsy showed the woman died from asphyxiation.
The autopsy report showed that there wasn't any strangulation marks. She could have just been closed up in that refrigerator.
A mysterious death and a mysterious victim.
She was never identified. To this day, she's buried in an unknown grave here in Barberville.
The Jane Doe carried a number of clues.
She had 2 gold chains separate. One of them had a gold eagle pendant, and the other one was a gold heart.
It was one trait, her red hair, that stuck out.
At that time, there was known to have been several redheaded people that may have been missing or murdered along the I-75 corridor.
That peaked a serial killer theory that was never proven.
We may be living amongst a serial killer. We may be living, it may not have been a serial killer. It may have been someone that was actually here, that lives here in this county today.
I often wonder if Samuel Little was connected to these. He was a truck driver and had known victims in Kentucky. One was in Smith's Grove and the other two. Very possible, Flies. Very possible. Was his victims left along major roadways? The thing about it being unsolved, though, I mean, yeah, the person would be old now, I would think, but they could still be alive. Yes, and he strangled them. Now, Flies, you know what you're doing. You're sending me right down another rabbit hole. Are you going to send me a rope? I'll be looking up this person, Samuel Little. Oh. But she will be our first case that we go over because we've actually got the FOIA request back on her. We'll be going over some of them files. Flies just sent me down a rabbit hole where I'm going to be looking at Samuel Little's case, the people that he murdered. Creepy, my cousin that lives in Owington. Well, you don't even want to know how close I live to this. No, literally. I mean, I live in this town, but it's believed that she was trying to hitchhike back to get back home in North Carolina and caught a ride with a truck driver, and well, it looks like it was 14 miles down the road. She's dead. When did you say you were going to be starting these series? Probably this weekend, Dutch. Probably start doing. I'm going to try to shoot for Saturday. That'll give me time to get it all put together and decide who we're going. I'll be talking to Michelle. I'll put it in Discord. That way we can all go over it. Hopefully Dutch and Michelle will be joining me on panel to be talking about these cases. I do think they're very important. They are code cases, but like I said, whoever did this, y'all could still be in the area. They could still be alive. Samuel admitted to 90 some women, but couldn't identify them all. That is scary. Dutchie, write down Samuel Little. We're going to have to look into him. Okay. It sounds good, Dutch, and I hope your mama gets to feeling better. And if something happens that it don't work out for Saturday, we can always reschedule. I kind of hate trying to even do a set schedule because I never know. It seems like every time I do, something comes up. And let me see here. Again, this is the link if you want to go listen to these cases and kind of familiarize yourself with them. It's foul play. That's the name of the podcast. There's 6 episodes on there of it. It'll blow your mind, that's for sure. One of these bodies was found beside the road by a man and a woman, and they knew that it had just been dumped on the side of the road because it had been one of the biggest snows that they had, and the body didn't have no snow over top of it. So whoever it was they were brave, because they wasn't trying to hide these bodies. They were putting them where they would be found, with the exception of that one being put in a refrigerator. That's what always had made me wonder, could it have been a copycat? Because it seems like the Knox County Jane Doe was kind of hid, where the rest of them are just laying beside the road. Thanks, Shetty. Bless her heart. Well, I don't want to keep you all long. I know everybody is busy and have other things to do, but I do appreciate you for joining me. Remember, it takes 0 effort to be a good human being. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll be doing at least 6 episodes on this, because I want to give each woman the dignity of having her own episode. And we will be listening to more of Foul Play's podcast if this one don't get struck for it. But because just simply, and let me put this out there. The police did not identify these women. Okay. They referred to them as being throwaway women. I want everybody to guess who identified or brought this case to light to get them identified. Do y'all want to know? I'm going to tell you. There was a high school teacher that put these cases in front of his students, and they did the legwork on this. A high school class was who made a map out. They were the one that come to the decision. They thought it was a truck driver because it was main roads. They were the one that pushed for DNA to be done on these women. It wasn't the cops, you all. It was high school students. Went more by there. Yeah. Yeah, they're not They're not throwaway. Like I said, I don't care if somebody is a prostitute or a governor's wife, they deserve the same dignity and respect, and their case deserves to be investigated as well as anybody else's, because at the heart of it, that's somebody's child, that's somebody's mother, that's somebody's sister, that's somebody's aunt. It's someone's loved one, and they deserve to have answers. Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. Just go ahead and me or Dutchie, either one. I think you're in both of our Discords. I think you're in mine. But I do appreciate everybody. And like I said, remember, it takes zero effort to be a good human being. You've got to actually work at being a bad one. Till next time, love y'all.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you, but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away, as you fade away.
Like nothing I found, my mind overwhelmed. I think that I'm broken, but I really can't help. I know I'm not perfect, but some days I feel far more worthless. Baby, you make me feel nervous. If I still have you, I have purpose. It's all worth it.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. I guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade